look, we're going to move into our final segment of the day, and that segment is, Jose, line us up.
Sup with Star Wars.
That's right. You got it. You got it, sir.
Boom,
And
boom, 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 boom.
let's see. What is up with Star Wars? Well, some interesting stuff.
What is up with Star Wars?
Let me start here. We do actually have a lot of Star Wars, but let me start here because we had some. This has been a bigger year for Star Wars than we thought, right? Because, initially, we had the Dark Forces remaster come out. Bad Batch has been phenomenal so far. Both of those things have been phenomenal. And then they announced the Battlefront Classic remake. And on top of that, we're going to have Acolyte and Skeleton Crew. And it's like, this is a massive year for Star Wars again. And Star Wars Outlaws is coming out this year. That game's going to be hopefully awesome. I think it looks awesome.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah. Battlefront Classic Collection, I'm going to talk about this just as I did with Dark Forces. It did come out, so I did pre-order it, and I was on my console at midnight, ready to play with my friends, and they were on at midnight as well, ready to play this thing online, because that was the big selling point for this thing. And, we just can't have nice things, because just like everybody else, we were all very disappointed when this game was pretty much broken. This was a bummer, with this Battlefront Classic Collection.
I've heard nothing but horrible things about this, honestly.
Let me dive into this. We were all ready to play, and they opened up about 3 servers. I think each of us had a different version of the game, so none of our games looked the same. Opening on 30 servers pretty much tells me that for some reason they were only anticipating about 200 people joining on for the online element of this. Don't ask me why that was the logic, when this was one of the most hyped up things ever in Star Wars gaming. So very interesting. I was very, very saddened by the online of this and what the big selling point was. Oh, I will say this. Going back to the single player, playing it on the PS5 has worked astoundingly well. I've really enjoyed the single player. I know some people were reporting cutscenes were missing. I didn't have that issue. The controller enhancements, just like Dark Forces, are very, very cool. I think, again, the single player has ran incredibly well, and online is getting better. We have played a few games now. It took a few days for it to improve, but it has gotten better. I'm able to get into servers, and the servers actually last a little while. I did join a couple of hero games. I forgot what they call them in the classic ones, but we did a couple of hero missions, and for some reason the Cantina song just played on a loop. Can't really explain that one to you, but I hate that song now, so thank you for that. It was odd, and then eventually I just lost audio altogether. The game has crashed on me multiple times, so I think that this was just such a huge botch. I don't know how they botched this bad. This is kind of like, whoa, you know what I mean?
You can thank Asper for that.
Kind of glad they got that Knights of the Old Republic remake taken out from under them, and somebody else is working on that now. Thank God. This was piss poor, and I feel bad because this one is like, it's not even a Disney thing. You know what I mean? Like, you can hardly blame Disney for this, even though they're gonna get the blame because people like to shit on them. But you really can't.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I've heard that the PC versions are even worse than console.
Yeah,
like
console's getting
Steam is having the worst time right now with this game.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm glad I didn't get it on my PC. Even though I could have realistically gotten a refund, I'm just glad I waited to see what the reviews were saying before buying it.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm actually just trying to, and I haven't gotten the Dark Forces remastered yet either. I know that one's way better. It's
I
just
recommend that
right now,
highly. Yes.
The thing is right now is I'm saving up for something else that's coming in the future. I know it's not Star Wars related, but it's just a game that I really have a lot of hype for, and I honestly can't wait to start playing the beta, which I've already signed up for when it releases, and that's the Dune Awakening game.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, I get you. But all right, look, at the end of the day, though, again, it was nice to play the single player campaigns. I do think that they do work very well. Again, the controller enhancements, if they can get the online to work, everything's going to be good. You know, if they just fix these little bugs, Do I think it's as terrible as people are making it out to be? No. But I get it though that this should not have been botched, especially with all the excitement. So I was upset too, believe me. When we were trying to play online, we were all just ready to go, and they should have had this ready to go, and this felt like they didn't even test this thing. Before they released it, which was like, it was very disappointing and sad. Stop making, for gaming companies that do this, stop making beta testers out of your consumers. That's not why we're here. So please stop doing that. However, like I said, if you guys want your real classic Star Wars experience, get that Dark Forces remaster. It's fire. I think I screwed up too on when I was reviewing it. I think I said Asper also put out the Dark Forces remaster. They did not.
They didn't. No,
It
it
was
was Night
Night
Dive.
Dive, right? So I think I screwed that up. I apologize when I reviewed it last time. But anyway, I hate to start out on the sour note, but hopefully it's the only sour note of the day. Because like I said, I think everything we got moving forward here is actually pretty exciting. So I'm actually excited to dive into the rest of the Star Wars news. But that's my review of the game pretty much, is like, guys, it's just, maybe just wait a few days before you get it. Wait till everybody's like, okay, it's fixed. You know what I mean? But again, if you
Right.
just want the single player aspects of it, for the most part, that has worked very well. I thought they did a very nice job on a lot of that. That was the part they put work into. And yeah, I've enjoyed the single player. There's definitely audio mixing issues. I think they could do that a little better, but we'll get there hopefully. But I have had fun doing it on console again. I think that was the big selling another big selling point, is having it on console again. So yeah, I must say, if you're gonna do it on console. If you're a PC person, maybe don't get it. You can get the originals and mod them out, and they'll probably work just as well. So, but for me, I just enjoy the console experience of it, and so yeah, it's not a complete waste. But yeah, the online was very disappointing, and it's working better now, thank God. I do wish they would add a party system. So if you're looking for a game with the party system, don't expect that. But whatever, it's the same game, just with a resolution upgrade, and that's the best thing I can say. Dark Forces though, grab that one. 100% worth your time. You'll play that campaign multiple times. It's so fun. It's never been more satisfying to shoot people in a Star Wars game. So Dark Forces, grab it. All right. Yeah, so that's my initial disappointing news. A little quick update. This weekend is going to be a very exciting weekend for me. I am going to be meeting two awesome people this weekend, that being Hayden Christensen and Rosario Dawson. And I just wanted to share my excitement with all of you on that. So that'll be fun. And then maybe some other surprise guests, maybe possibly I'll be able to meet. So very, very excited about that. So just want to throw that out there. I can't wait for that. I'll have to update you guys on how all that goes once we do another show here. But yeah, that'll be my weekend. That's another reason we weren't going to be able to get to Ghostbusters this week, is I'm going out of town. But yeah, very excited to meet Hayden and Rosario, and then we're going to go watch a panel with the two of them, so it's going to be a lot of fun as well. So can't wait for that. All right, but let's move into some of the more fun stuff. We'll get that envious look off Jose's face over there, right? No, man. I hope you get to have the same experience one day, genuinely, and
One
yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, one day.
Unless mine goes terribly, then I'll be like, hey, don't go meet them. But anyway,
Yeah, you never know.
never know. Yeah, it could go either way. All right, so this one was an interesting thing. Beetlejuice ain't the only thing coming back from the dead, apparently, because we have this story
The
here.
Undertaker. I'm just kidding. Oh.
Star Wars Rogue Squadron back in development, Patty Jenkins said. Okay, so I mean, we all remember the announcement, right, of Rogue Squadron, right? That announcement video that's just kind of lingering there. Pretty embarrassing. But at the same time, like, it's, we were all excited about it, I think. For the most part, I certainly was. I thought a Rogue Squadron movie, Top Gun in space, would be fantastic. I love the way that Patty explained how this was going to tie into her father was in the Air Force, and she had this like passion for this, and she was just so excited to mix two things that she loved together. It was a great announcement video, man. And then it's just been kind of lingering and dead. It's happening, it's not happening, but it's happening again. Rogue Squadron back in development, Patty Jenkins says. This is coming from IGN. Patty Jenkins said her previously shelved Star Wars project, Rogue Squadron, is back in development. The Wonder Woman director shared the update during an interview with the Talking Pictures podcast. It's a surprising update for those who thought the fighter pilot focused spinoff would never land, but Jenkins says she is at least back writing a draft now that her schedule has opened up. But I left Star Wars to do Wonder Woman 3, and I started working on that. We talked about, well, maybe I'll come back to Star Wars after Wonder Woman 3. So we started a deal for that to happen, she said, when Wonder Woman 3 then went away. Lucasfilm and I were like, oh, we've got to finish this deal. We finished the deal right as the strike was beginning. So now I owe a draft to Star Wars. All right, so that's pretty much the gist of it. And for me, this goes to show, like, look, there's just like multiple people out there that when they don't hear about a project for a little while, it's dead, it's not happening, and this is why we take these things with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? Now, we could take this one of two ways. I mean, she owes a draft, right? But I feel like if they weren't interested in all, they wouldn't waste their time, right? Like with writing up a draft of Rogue Squadron. And I do think that I think what they're going to go with here is I think they're going to accept her draft. And the hope would be is just if they like it, they'll greenlight it, right? They'll go the rest of the way with it. That's kind of how I'm feeling about this. That's the vibe I'm getting anyway. She owes them a draft, so they'll take the draft, they'll read over it. If they like it, they'll continue with it. If not, they're not going to waste their time with it. But I do think that they're interested in reading a draft, and seeing what she can come up with. And for me at this point, until I hear somebody at Lucasfilm officially say this project's dead, it ain't dead. You say what you want about Wonder Woman 84. Patty Jenkins is a great director. She got Charlize Theron her Oscar, and because Monster was an incredible performance and great movie. And the first Wonder Woman was DCU's first real smash hit. DCEU's first real smash hit at the time. So, say what you will, but there's that. She's got accolades on the shelf, I have heard, and I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. I've obviously also heard the rumors that she is very difficult to work with. But I don't know if that attitude's changed after having Wonder Woman kind of ripped away from her. Maybe she'll, do a little bit of an attitude adjustment and say, you know what, I can't. That's the consequence of being difficult to work with, and I gotta compromise a little bit when working with these studios. I do think that Wonder Woman is the first one is a perfect example of a director and a studio coming together and compromising and meeting in the middle on things, and not, you know what I mean, and not anybody having an ego in the picture. And maybe 84's results was a little bit more ego centric on one side of it. Maybe somebody thought that the most creative, they wanted to have creative control, and maybe because they threw a fit, I'm just speculating, maybe because they threw a fit, they let the person have the creative control that maybe shouldn't have, and we got a bad result, right? Even though I'm in the minority and I liked 84, but either way, my point is people can change, and attitudes can adjust. And this is, and let's be honest, Wonder Woman 3 isn't the first project she got stripped away from her. Thor: The Dark World she was supposed to do, and that got stripped away from her too, for apparently being difficult to work with. So that's the rumors I've heard anyway. And again, rumor, will classify that as rumor, but I'm still very excited. I do believe her when she says she's passionate about Rogue Squadron, and I was excited for the project. Jose, what's your take on Rogue Squadron?
Well, for one, I'm happy that seems like it's going to be happening.
Seems like, yeah, cautiously
'Cause that
optimistic. Yeah.
yeah, because that was one that I was very. It was up there, in one of my highly anticipated.
Yeah.
Especially since I own the entire book series, Legend book series of the Rogue Squadron, the X Wings. Like the X Wing series that has Rogue Squadron in it.
Yeah.
After reading that, it kind of excited me more and more and more.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of in a way happy that Wonder Woman 3, was kind of ripped away from her. Because especially after seeing in my opinion, the disaster that was Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah.
I just don't really feel like Wonder Woman 3 would have done anything, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
Um, and I really did want to see her, tackle the Star Wars project, and it just seemed like she was very, very passionate
Yeah.
about doing this one. So I'm happy that it seems like this one's actually gonna be happening. Um, do I think it'll be a movie? Maybe. I have read reports, and these are obviously just reports that
Right.
nothing's really set in stone. But I have read reports. One from the Hollywood Reporter actually saying that Kathleen Kennedy said in 2023 that this could even be a TV series
Yeah.
instead of a
Yeah.
movie. So could I see this being a show? Yeah, I could see it going either way, either a movie or a show. Which one would I prefer? I'm not too sure. For something like this, I probably would prefer a show because I feel like you could do a lot more
Yeah.
versus a movie. So I feel like this could possibly do better as a show. Now, would that be something that Patty Jenkins could tackle? Maybe. I don't know if I've ever really seen her tackle a series or
Hmm.
episodes of a series.
Yeah.
But I feel like it could be something interesting for her to try and tackle, especially if she's actually gonna like you said, like turn a leaf and like not be as hard to work with,
I hope
or
so.
just
You would
stop
hope.
being hard to work,
Yeah.
stop being hard to work with in general. Because I definitely do feel like that needs to go, especially with a company like Disney.
Yeah.
Because we've seen what happens to people who are hard to work with, with Disney.
They get sent on a
That
trip to
little
Belize. That's what happens to them. Yeah.
that mouse, that white mouse, black and white mouse is
Yeah.
always there, man.
Yeah. No, for sure.
So yeah, no, I'm highly optimistic and happy that it seems like this this Rogue Squadron project.
Yeah.
I'll just call it a project because we don't know if it's going to be a movie or a show.
We don't know.
The
Yeah.
Rogue Squadron project.
Yeah.
It seems like it's going to happen, and I'm
Yeah.
highly optimistic that it will happen, and I'm
Yeah.
really excited to see what it is that she ends up doing with this. In terms of the whole part where it says that she said that she owes a script.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, in a sense she does.
Yeah.
But
She's
I guess
contractually
at the same
obligated
time,
to
she
write
also
it. No.
yes, she is. But does she technically owe them one? In a sense, kind of, but also in a sense, no, because they also just scrapped her project.
I don't know
So
that they did though. That's the
we're
thing.
like,
Like that's always kind of been up in the air. You
true,
know what I mean? So we don't really
true,
know. I mean, we've heard
true.
rumors, but like I think if she says she owes them a script, I think that means like legally she has to at least write a script. You know what I mean? They have
True.
to at least review
Yeah,
it.
true.
Now they don't have to accept it. Again, I don't think that that's
Right.
they could always look at the
Right.
script and be like, yeah, our instinct was right. We don't want to go with this. But I think legally
Right.
she has to
Right.
write it. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I just wanted to jump in on that. But
Yeah, no. But I'm like I said, I'm happy that Wonder Woman 3 just kind of fell through and was kind of taken. Will Wonder Woman 3 happen in the future by someone else? Who knows? Do I want it to happen? No.
I
But
don't think it is. I think it's done.
I'm just yeah, honestly, and I'm happy that it's not going to happen. And I'm happy that Patty Jenkins is not able to venture into
Yeah.
a project that I feel like she was maybe a little more excited to do than Wonder Woman 3.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Um,
I think we're kind of looking at a case of maybe somebody who had too much on their plate. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of
Yeah.
what I was getting from a
No,
lot
for
of
sure.
comments here, and maybe that. I mean, I think that did affect a lot of things. I think she was like she signed on to Star Wars. I think that she, was struggling to get one or the other done, and she also had the Cleopatra movie, if I'm not mistaken, with Gal
Yeah.
Gadot as well. So she had a lot on her plate at once. I think she just had to kind of like drop some things and do some retrospective. And I think Lucasfilm maybe have been gracious enough to give her that time. And now looking back, maybe she, they had a conversation. And as she said, this wasn't that long ago. It was right before the strike. So it's very realistic, to me that they did have a conversation. They were like, hey, have you taken your time? We're still waiting on that script. Let's see what we can do with it. So maybe that was the case. I
Right.
don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, just to wrap it up, I mean, I'm just excited that
Yeah.
she's able to come back to this and actually work on this and focus fully on this and not have too much to juggle, because that is also something that is something that writers shouldn't really be doing, because if you try tackling too much, then you're gonna be just you're putting out quantity over quality, and that's just not what we need in the film
Yeah.
industry. So I'm happy that she's able to fully focus on this, and I'm praying and I'm highly optimistic that the script that she's owing to Disney and Star Wars is actually one that they'll love and want to adapt, whether it's a movie or a TV show.
Yeah, just to add one extra caveat to this too, I do think that this is going to be partially dependent on how the Rey movie does, the New Jedi Order film, because Rogue Squadron, from our understanding, was supposed to take place after Episode 9. So I think they're going to look at, they're going to wait on that box office a little bit here too. So even if they like the script a lot, I do think it's going to be dependent on how people respond to post Episode 9 content, and that time period. And if New Jedi Order does well, I think it will boost the excitement a little bit for a Rogue Squadron. So I think I would hope, if they're smart, they're going to wait on that box office results for the New Jedi Order film, and then so we're still talking maybe
Right.
5-6 years down the line for this thing. So I mean, it's not nothing to get like excited about yet, but it is interesting that this is still a possibility. And I hope if they don't go with Patty Jenkins' take, as you said, the books, Rogue Squadron books, have popularity. The games are still fairly beloved. I know that they had some of the better storylines in their games. I kind of want to go back and play them, to be honest with you. People really like those Rogue Squadron games. They had a huge response. I think the name alone will get hardcore fans excited. Yeah. So comes down to the script.
And it makes me want to revisit the specifically the Rogue Squadron X-wing book. Because I feel like there's definitely a lot of storyline there as well that can be used. Obviously it's Legends, so it's not canon, so you don't obviously they're not gonna do it fully adapt, but there's stuff in there you can definitely take and adapt into a screenplay. So
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. All right. Look, guys, let us know if you're excited for the Rogue Squadron film, and we got exciting stuff to talk about just moving forward here. Jose, I know this is the one that you're looking forward to most of the Star Wars stories. We were talking about Star Wars The Acolyte trailer, and we've been waiting on this thing, and it finally did drop. And we have not had a chance to talk about it here on the show. I did do a reaction on the channel, so if you guys want to watch that, you can. But Jose and I have not really had a chance to talk about it together, other than I think we both told each other we enjoyed it. But I mean, what was your impressions, Jose, overall? You can dive in now completely on this. I know you've been waiting, so.
Okay.
Yep.
As someone who isn't, fully versed in the High Republic books or anything like that,
Yeah.
Disney finally listened to me and answered my plea to get something dark and Sith, heavy, which off the bat from the trailer alone you can tell it's going to be that. Something we've never seen really in Star Wars. Which I'm here for. The trailer, just from the opening, I knew that this is gonna be amazing. Honestly, I loved seeing Amanda Stanberg with her character. That was a really cool assassin character.
Yes, not Acolyte, which I said in my trailer reaction.
Little knives and
sorry,
stuff
go
that
ahead.
she's throwing around.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And it's going to be really cool. Also, having Jonas Sotama voicing the Wookiee Jedi. That's going to be really cool as well. I can't wait to see, how that transcends. The shots in this, the cinematography, it's already looking amazing. The scoring already also just sounds intense and dark and very, heavy. Which I can't wait to just hear it in its entirety when this, show does drop. The ending scene in the trailer was probably my favorite part, without a doubt, because it just is so dark and just it just shows like how powerful right now in this time that the Sith are compared to the Jedi, and I'm here for it. Honestly, I know you always root for the Jedi, the good side, but I'm one that I love rooting for the bad guys, and so I'm here for it. I can't wait to see.
You're like the narrow and good fellas.
How these Sith. I just can't wait to see how these Sith, do their thing in this show. I'm here for it. I can't wait. And honestly, the trailer just excited me a lot. Even as someone who doesn't, who isn't well versed with the High Republic stuff, I know what's going to happen in this show just based off of this trailer, and that's what I love to see in trailers.
Yeah. I mean, I'll jump off a little bit here. My first impressions, you guys again can watch my reaction, but first impressions off this thing. You know, when it started up and I saw the kids, I was like, oh god, I saw the younglings per se. I was like, oh no, 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 they're doing a kiddie thing. And then it kind of kept going, and the more I processed it, I mean, the better it's just gotten to me. I think I was definitely thrown off because it does look and feel so fresh and new, and it is a new time period, and I'm not as well versed in the High Republic books, although what I have read, I've read a few, have been very good, and I do want to continue my journey, especially now with this trailer. Seeing a world with a ton of Jedi in it was also super exciting, and it's definitely dark, as you said. The way the music swelled, which granted, that's trailer music, may not be the music in the final product, but it was still like this trailer did a good job setting the tone, and I think that's all it really wanted to do. So I'm very excited for the full trailer. We're also getting an extended look with the Phantom Menace in theaters coming back, so that's going to be really awesome to check out. But so I'm looking more forward to that. I definitely would say, for myself, I need a little bit more before I can make a full opinion on it, but I have enjoyed what I've seen. I mean, it looks like it's being done on location. With the one exception of the Coruscant shots, everything else looks like it's done on location. The cinematography was beautiful. Even the Coruscant shots looked a little bit more akin to what they looked like in Andor, so I was very happy with that. It didn't look as Ahsoka, it looked more Andor to me. I have gripes with Coruscant and Ahsoka, but I'll save that for another day maybe. But yeah, the way it looked in the trailer looked pretty good for the most part. I was, it was nice to be back in the Jedi Temple. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. I really, as Star Wars fans, we do tend to get a little bit nitpicky. I will say, the lightsabers still looking, just for some reason, those blades look just a little bit fat to me. I don't know what it is, but this time around it looked a little more of like a stylistic choice, unlike Obi-Wan, where it just looked like the props were just bad. Like this looked a little bit more stylized in that way, and maybe that's just the tone they want to set for High Republic, and so I was very happy with that. I'm very optimistic on this one. I know a lot of people, most people have been optimistic after the trailer, but I've heard some gripes and nitpicks, and it's like, yeah, I get it. I get, getting nitpicky about it, but we have no idea what this is. This is brand new and fresh to most of us. The High Republic, while it has its audience, is also, or has its readers, has also been a very niche thing. I mean, I know Leslie Headland has spoken out about, she does hope that this gets more people into the publishing of it, so that was great. Another thing that worries me is definitely the announcement of these are going to be like 30-minute episodes. I'm like, oh, gosh, come on. So I'm hoping that it's a good, fulfilling 30 minutes for 8 episodes a piece. The finale is going to be 40 minutes from my understanding. That's the word right now going around. So it obviously that has me sort of cautious. But I do again, and it was a little bit more, I'm not complaining, by the way. I did really like this trailer. I've watched it quite a bit. But I gotta say, another thing that has me cautious, it was just a little bit more Jedi heavy than I was anticipating as well. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more of the Sith being embraced, but we've only seen this little, it's a very small teaser, and I'm keeping that in mind, and I do think that they do want to show people the Jedi, you know what I mean? I think they want to show that this is a time period where the Jedi are definitely full in it. And what it really intrigues me about it, and I know this would sound like a bad thing, but to me it's not. Like when I was reacting to the trailer, when you're watching like the Ahsoka trailer, right? Like that had us like jumping for joy and screaming and out of our seats. This one was a little bit more of a reserved reaction, but I actually think that that's a compliment to it because it's being a little bit more grounded and darker, and that intrigue is there, and the curiosity is there a lot more. With Ahsoka, we kind of knew a little bit of what we were getting, so the fan service is there, and we're kind of like, yeah. This is more grounded, dark, a little more reserved, and I think that the reaction was apt, for something like this. And I do like the mystery of it. I'm very intrigued by the story of this. It is darker. I thought the poster was fantastic too. Just seeing the lightsaber with blood splatter behind it was like really neat. I was like, whoa, man, I wasn't expecting that. So that's interesting as well. I hope that's not mismarketing, but man, I mean, again, the tone hit me, man. It really did. I was like, this is a lot of what I've been looking for. You know what I mean? I do think it is going to be a good balance of that storytelling with the spectacle of having the Jedi and the Force and all that. So I'm just hoping it's a perfect mixture of the tone of Ahsoka and Andor. You know what I mean? I want those two worlds to collide, but also just be dark, and we're learning more about the Sith and the rise of the Sith. I have questions. I definitely do, because it does feel like the Jedi were very unaware of the Sith in Phantom Menace, which is something I didn't think about till recently. So I have questions about how they're going to explain that. But as they also said, this is going to be a multi-season show. They're looking into this being a multi-season ordeal, which is also exciting. And I know, like, with Ahsoka, for example, a lot of people, when that ended, they were like, I need more. It's like, we're getting more, guys, you know? And it's going to be the same thing here. So even if the show ends in a place where it's like, it's cliffhangery, I'm not going to be upset by that. I just want it to get me in. You know, I need the first season to pull me in and make me a fan, and I need the pacing to be right, and I just want the filmmaking of it to be right. And so, and all of that looks right, you know? So I'm not upset about this at all. Again, I made that mistake of calling Amanda Lestenberg the Acolyte in my reaction. From my understanding, she is just an assassin, not the Acolyte. The Acolyte apparently is not what we think it is, according to Leslie Headland as of recent comments. So I'm very, very curious and excited to see what all that's about. And yeah, I just love how much intrigue this trailer left for me. You know what I mean? I think that was the biggest thing, is like the intrigue, the curiosity I have for what the hell this is. I loved it, man. I really did. I loved it for all of that. Again, even with my minor nitpicks. And oh, by the way, hand-to-hand combat, very, very cool. I was like, see, that's fresh. You know what I mean? We saw a scene with a knife, not a lightsaber, but a knife. It was like real hand-to-hand combat, and Carrie-Anne Moss dodging shots left and right was cool. Yeah.
That's actually something I wanted to piggyback off of. Is I liked seeing the Jedi like stop her knives with like the Force, and like when that one scene where one of the Jedi's like caught her like foot, and then she did like a flip and tried to like kick him again.
Neat
That was
stuff.
really cool.
Yeah.
And that was actually something. Yeah, that was actually something that I was talking with a classmate today. Was that now that I'm getting a, you know, Sith dark heavy based project, now what I want is maybe not one but a couple projects fully focused on like all different kinds of smugglers and bounty hunters, because if I'm being honest with you, I think I'm kind of getting a little over the whole all just having a bunch of lightsabers and stuff, especially with how they're looking and stuff. I kind of want to move it and now get some like bounty hunter and like smuggler heavy projects, and kind of go like deeper into like their stories and how they became to be the people that they are.
Yeah.
You know, what happened in their lives and stuff like that. Because I'll tell you right now, I've got Legends books here. One is called Tales of the Bounty Hunters, and the other one is Tales of the Smugglers.
Right.
And both of those books are phenomenal. Just getting to read the background stories of like how these people became who they are now is really cool, and I feel like there's a lot there that can be served as inspo for future Star Wars projects. So yeah, those would be some cool things that I'd like to see now. Star Wars Disney tackle for Star Wars for sure.
Yeah, I also, by the way, speaking of what you said too, but you know, I think that's another cool thing about the High Republic era is like there's not just Jedi. You know what I mean? There's not just Jedi based stories. They're present, from my understanding, in every story, but they have given a lot of variety with all the different writers that they have working in the High Republic. They've given a lot of variety and a lot of different things that Star Wars fans are interested. That first book, Light of the Jedi, it's so expansive. There's so much to chew on for all Star Wars fans, and I'm hoping that this show is reflective of that. You know what I mean? Like maybe we will have some episodes that are based around a bounty hunter, not a la Mandalorian style, but you know, I hope it's one continuous story, but more a la Game of Thrones style, where we have like a lot of different, you know what I mean, elements being thrown in, and it's lore heavy, and that's what I'm looking for, you know, out of this, and I'm hoping that it is, and there's something for every Star Wars fan. As I said, I do like the fact that Amanda Stenberg's not a force user. She's just an assassin that's highly well trained, out there to, hopefully kill Jedi. And that's neat. I like that, man. That's what I want, man. I want dark stuff. Let's get into it. It looks like we're moving in the
For
right
sure.
direction. That's
Yeah.
the best thing I could say. And bouncing off this just a little bit, I did want to
Yeah,
pull
for
this
sure.
up too, because we do have some figures coming out from looks like Hasbro Pulse is putting out a couple figures, and we have Daphne Keene's character here, as we can see, and Amanda Stenberg's character. So very excited to learn more about these guys, and hopefully these are figures I end up buying. But I just wanted to give a quick look at these really quick before we dove into Bad Batch. But super exciting stuff, guys, that we are getting these, and yeah, man, I can't wait. There's the packaging, just to give you an idea. It is in the Kenner packaging, which I really dig. Yeah, man, this looks great. Lee Jung Jae in this trailer I thought was great, by the way. I think performance
Oh
wise,
yeah.
I got the most sense off of him, and he does embody exactly what I would want from a Jedi master per se. So I'm very much looking forward to watching him train these younglings. That part of it hit me more than I thought it would. This just looks pretty fantastic. So I do want to know what everybody else thinks before we dive into Bad Batch. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the Acolyte trailer. Here's the final part of the show. We're going to talk spoilers on the Bad Batch. We have about 4 episodes we haven't caught up with yet with each other here, but thank you guys for joining. If you haven't seen the Bad Batch, go watch it, come back, watch our spoiler segment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends. For all of you that are leaving now, and Jose and I are going to talk spoilers. You have been warned. All right, so the Bad Batch season 3, or Bad Batch final season, however you want to put it. Dude, this show is awesome. This is peak Star Wars. Like, bro, I am so blown away. I've never enjoyed a Bad Batch season this consistently, but this is like it's some of the best Star Wars I've seen that they've put out. 100% easily. We have last time we spoke, we left off at episode 4, so we'll kind of talk about 5 through 8 here a little bit. So dude, like every episode has been just Omega Crosshair developing further and further and further in that relationship, and then watching Crosshair try to rejoin the Batch.
That's why I've got the
bro. And Crosshair is becoming one of my favorite Star Wars characters because of this, and it's just going well. I love the relationship between him and Omega, and we don't have to take this episode by episode. By the way, we could just kind of talk openly. But if we're going to talk about episode 5, what was so great about 5 was the fact that we had just seen Dune 2, and then you had not a sandworm, but a snowworm that was like so inspired by Dune. So I loved that so much. That made me so happy. And it was a side quest, but even like this is what's making this season work, is like even in their side quests, they're not losing focus on what the main plot is. It's still moving forward.
Yep.
And bro, I mean, I don't know. What have you thought so far, man? And we're at 8 episodes in now. I mean, it's pretty great to me, but
Yeah. Oh no, this is literally one of the best things that Disney has done for Star Wars. This it's just making me love Disney, at least the Star Wars side of it.
yeah,
Again.
this is great stuff. Yeah.
No, you're definitely. I mean, yeah. This. I like how we've gone. From season 2, Omega and Tech relationship building to now a Omega and Crosshair relationship build in this season. I'm absolutely loving it so much. I'm loving how difficult it is for Hunter and Wrecker to kind of put trust back into Crosshair. I think that stuff's really good. And like you said, the side quests don't just feel like side quests because they have purpose. Every single side quest that they've done in the episodes that have been side quests have all had a purpose, all moving forward. They all have meaning and a plan behind it. And yeah, man, I'm just loving every single bit of it. Like you said in episode 5, the whole we went from sandworm and Dune to now a snowworm in Star Wars, and yeah, it's definitely inspired by Dune, and I'm loving it. A nice Dune. They definitely saw Dune and then did that for that episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing too is I love the kind of struggle that Crosshair is going through. mentally, because
It's
he
so
thinks that
good.
it's physically, but
It's
you
mentally.
find out that it's mentally. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I loved that last shot
Yep.
in episode 8 where
Mm,
Omega is helping him like clear his mind and meditate. I thought that was
mm. So
so
good.
amazing, so beautiful,
Yeah.
honestly.
They don't really
Oh
know it,
man,
but
yeah,
you as the
it's
audience,
all been great.
I mean,
Yeah,
you as the audience
100%.
knows they're tapping into like the force a little bit. You know what I mean? They're not going to be force heavy users, and I don't want them to be, but
Yep.
they are like tapping in just
Yeah.
ever
No.
so slightly to
No.
a Jedi technique, which I really thought was really
Hmm.
neat, and just the
Yeah.
subtle way they did that, right? Like they didn't like
Oh yeah.
blatantly sit there and say like, "Hey, let's be Jedi." You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
They were like just subtly like tapping into this part
And
Jedi
I
technique.
like
Yeah,
how Omega was also like,
yeah. Fuck it, I'll smoke on
well,
camera.
because the
Good.
crosshair goes, "How do you know how to do this?" She's like, "Oh, I learned, from some Wookiees on Kashyyyk." He was like, "You've been to Kashyyyk?" She's like, "Yeah, you missed a lot." I
Yeah, yeah,
like that.
yeah.
That part also like really got me as well. That was
Yeah,
that hit, honestly.
so
Also, if you guys
emotionally
didn't know, that's why I have a
satisfying.
toothpick in my mouth because I'm representing Crosshair.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, so we were also introducing 7 and 8 to that new assassin, which I don't know. Do you think that that is somebody, or do you think it's going to end up being nobody? That assassin droid, or not droid, but that assassin that's in the helmets. I mean, the only person I was thinking of was maybe
Oh,
Cody. Maybe it's Cody.
I think it could be. I think he's gonna be a pretty big character, honestly, because he obviously survived, and only big characters survive. Because if it was just some like side character, he definitely probably would have just been, killed off or whatever, just died right there. But the fact that he survived, there's definitely more to tell with this guy, in the future, in future episodes. The other thing that I really liked seeing was Fennec Shen. I
Yeah.
thought she was really cool in episode 8, and what
Yes.
that
Nice to see
episode
her
entailed. I
back.
thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
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 And seeing her like just turn on them at the end there was also like, I was like, oh my gosh, this
Uh
is about to get crazy.
hmm Yeah. No, Fennec was very consistent. I like her used more in this show than I do Boba Fett, and that's kind of crazy to say, but like it's the
Yeah,
truth,
true.
man. And I like her in Boba Fett. Don't get me wrong. I just think that she's used better here, and I like diving into her past to further develop her. So by the time you do get to Boba Fett, like and I actually rewatched the first 2 seasons of Bad Batch recently. This made me want to go back and watch those. And it's like they get better because of this season. This season has enhanced its first 2 seasons, like because all the pieces are coming in and connecting very well, and like it's made this show one of the best Star Wars shows. Man, it really has. I think the work that Filoni and Jennifer Corbett and Brad Rao and Saul Ruiz and Nathaniel Villanueva and Stuart Lee have all done on this is just phenomenal stuff, man. I think that they've worked together to create such a beautiful piece of
Hmm.
animation. That's the other thing, man. Animation's been just it always has been with the show. This has been some of the better animation they've done, but like it enhances that even more. The fact that just the animation is good. It's not weak animation, man. I mean, this is really great animation. Uh, I fall in love with Omega every week
Hmm.
too, man. More and more, and watching her grow and mature, very similar to the arc of Ahsoka Tano in the Clone Wars. You
Hmm.
know, I mean, we're seeing another character that maybe not everybody took to immediately. Kind of grow a lot more into her role. I think Michelle Ng's the voice acting in this is some of the best voice acting in all of Star Wars. I mean, in terms of their animation stuff. I mean, it really is, man.
Hmm.
It's top notch. Like it's becoming like these are really good performances.
For sure.
I personally, man, I'm gonna say something that's like crazy. I think Jimmy Simpson as Dr. Hemlock, he should get like an Emmy nomination for this. He is so good as that character, man, and he is villainous, and
He is.
it is
He
voice
is.
acting to a new level. I love the Hemlock stuff in this season so far. We
He,
haven't seen a lot of
he,
him lately, but yeah, so he's still one of the best aspects for sure. Knowing his presence is still out there, oh,
yeah, no,
so
he
good.
it
Yeah.
honestly sends chills down my back just thinking that, knowing his presence is still out there. And every time he talks and he's on the screen, it just always sends chills down my spine, and that just is a testament to his voice
Yeah,
acting.
it's great.
And I just can't wait to see more of him in future episodes. And one other thing that I wanted to mention, but that I just thought about too, is when you mentioning the Omega's growth, comparing it to Ahsoka's growth in the Clone Wars. It's almost like a reverse though, because like she's almost become like a master to Crosshair, trying to help
Hmm.
him through all these problems. And
Yeah,
I really like the way that's been developed and portrayed on the screen.
yeah,
And I just can't wait to see how it in future episodes it just keeps growing and gets stronger and stronger. And I do honestly think that they're gonna because in one of the episodes too you saw Hunter was looking at Omega and she was like mimicking what Crosshair was doing because she ended up putting a toothpick in her mouth as well. So it really just goes to show like how close
hmm.
Crosshair
I
and
love
Omega
that.
have grown and how strong the relationship has grown and how much they trust each other because they spent so much time together in the same facility.
Yeah,
And I just love it for them. Honestly, I love how Omega just can somehow just grow relationships. Like she can either just have relationships straight off the bat with some people, like with Hunter and Wrecker and Echo,
hmm,
and then with others she has to really work to grow. But in the end, their relationships just grow so strong, and they just become such a happy family.
yeah,
I love like I just love Omega so much. I think she's
yeah.
honestly the strongest character.
Yeah, I love when she called Crosshair little brother too. When she was like, "I'm older than
Yes,
you are, little
yeah.
brother." That was a great line. That was thrown out. I think that was in 7 or 6 or 7. I can't remember which episode, but that was a great line. Was I love that so much. Again, man, it just develops every week. I even see like I thought Wrecker was an obnoxious character in the beginning, and he's even like grown on me in a big way, like throughout these seasons. Like we're starting to see a lot more of that heart of Wrecker and his care for Omega, and that's been growing on me a lot too. So I'm really enjoying that. Yeah, man. The words that Hunter and Tech exchange with one another, it's amazing writing in those sequences. Like it's incredible writing. They've done a great job with the dialogue in this show too, and it's been really really heavy stuff.
Tech, you mean?
Oh, Hunter and
Tech.
Crosshair exchange the words that they had with each other when they were arguing
Okay.
throughout that fifth
Yeah.
episode. Man,
Oh yeah,
Jesus, I mean that was great writing. I mean,
yeah.
just top notch, peak stuff, and yeah, man, I like the duo dynamic between Crosshair and Omega, like you were saying, like
Hmm.
yeah, it's like a dual dynamic because Omega's like a neutral party because she also has to be on the side of the rest of the batch, and I think that stuff that's been like the most exciting dynamic to watch. Like I like that this isn't just a show like Mandalorian, where he's like, he's got to babysit Grogu, and like Obi-Wan's got to babysit Leia. This is a character that they have to babysit, but there's a lot of extra dynamic to the character that plays, and that's nothing against Leia or
Hmm.
Grogu. It's just I think that this show has had the stronger writing if we're going to compare them, and it's just the truth. I mean, this she is just such a great character, and continues to bring the heart to the series, as we said about the meditation scene. Man, it's just the emotions, man, all throughout me, during those scenes, because I am loving that relationship. It continues to grow stronger, and it's not just must watch Star Wars television. This is much must watch television, period. It's one of the best
Hmm.
shows on TV right now, 100% easily. Super stoked
For
about it,
sure.
and I'm just looking forward to so much more of it. And every time an episode ends, I can't wait for the next week. And it's been that way.
Oh,
I've
same.
I've never felt that way about a Bad Batch season, but this is only enhanced again. The prior two seasons, which work much
Mm,
better in a binge, by the way. Um,
for sure.
so yeah, man, that those are my thoughts on it. I recommend everybody, if you're not on this, if you're not caught up with Bad
It's
Batch, the payoff is worth it. It really is.
oh yeah.
I think we're
Another
gonna,
thing
yeah,
that
go
just
ahead.
makes me laugh every time I think about it is how like all of the Bad Batch characters is just one dude talking to himself in different voices. Like it just makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, I
But he just
mean,
absolutely like kills it.
standing ovation for D. Bradley Baker, man, because
Oh,
the work he's
100%.
doing here is it's astoundingly good. You know what I mean? I get like he probably records these characters at different times of the day, but it's still astoundingly good. Like he really sells, this show. He's carrying a big part of the show. He has to.
He deserves an Emmy. That's what he also
Probably,
deserves
yeah. It's
an Emmy.
no, 100%. It's some of the strongest voice acting, as somebody who's just watched the Clone Wars recently too. This is some of the strongest voice acting he's done. I mean, 100%, man. He's always been great as the clones, but this is like he's taking this material and eating it up in a way that I haven't seen him do. And by the way,
Oh yeah.
outside of the moment in the Clone Wars finale when Ahsoka takes off Rex's helmet, this had my favorite Rex moment when he told, oh gosh, what's the name of that clone? But he told him like, look at what you're doing. You're about to kill a child. That hit me
Yeah.
so hard, dude. That was like one of the best Rex moments
That I'm not gonna lie to you.
ever.
That whole exchange
Yeah.
between Rex and that other clone
Can't remember his name, but
just
yeah.
got me, man. It hit, man. I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, that whole interaction just hit me different, man.
Yeah.
So,
It's become less of a spin-off of Clone Wars and more of an actual depiction of the aftermath of the Clone Wars. Like, and I'm really enjoying that. Like it is less of a depiction of or a spin-off, I guess, and more of a depiction of the aftermath, and it's become its own show. And that's the other thing I like about this is it's genuinely now as like more than ever found its own DNA, and it's not the Clone Wars, it's the Bad Batch, you know what I mean? Like it's a different show, you know, and they pitched it as a spin-off initially, but it's more than that to me. It's a literal depiction of the next chapter, you know, in the next timeline, and it's doing that in ways that I never thought it would, and connecting elements of Star Wars that I didn't think it could, and executing on all of that incredibly well. Like I never really thought we would see a scene of meditation between two characters in the Bad Batch, but tapping into a part of the Force, you know what I mean? And we know that, but it's not in this way again where they're setting these people up
oh,
to be
that's
Jedi.
his name was his
The clone, yeah.
the clone's name was Wolf.
Wolf. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Wolf.
Yeah.
Wolf was his name.
Yeah, that's right. That exchange, man, that was one of my favorite Rex moments, 100% easily. Again, outside of Ahsoka taking off the helmet and seeing the tears in his eyes, that moment was incredibly strong. But this one
Yeah.
was probably right with that.
Another
Go ahead.
For me, from episode 1 all the way till now, for me, I've seen Wrecker as, for me, a comedic relief. Every time I
Yeah.
swear, every time this dude talks, for me, it just makes me laugh, and I love that I have that kind of
Yeah,
comedic relief away from all of the obvious seriousness
yes,
and sometimes sadness and stuff like that. I like how they're able to put a comedic effect that isn't over the top or annoying. It's like in the perfect times, which is why I've just loved Wrecker. But then I've also like seeing
hmm
Wrecker be so vulnerable and
yeah,
open with Omega and like
hmm
caring for her so much
yeah,
I mean, it's valid as well because Hunter and Wrecker have been looking for Omega for so long that they're just so worried about her and just wanting to know that she's alive and well and wanting her to be back with them. So I love
yeah,
how they like Wrecker's taking more of this like vulnerable lovey side because in season 1 and 2 he's been more of like a comedic, like serious, almost like a Wreck-It Ralph character, and now he's taking this more vulnerable, kind of lovey, soft side for Omega, and I love seeing that kind of change in Wrecker in this season.
yeah. Sure. Let me expound on that too. Like I do think he's the comedic relief, but the comedic relief aspect gets better when I can appreciate every other trait of the character as well. Like the both sides of the
Hmm.
character just complement one another. Like I am laughing at things he's saying now more than I have in the
Right.
past because of his character just becoming more open, and with the exchanges with Omega, as we
Mm-hmm.
were saying, like it's making me appreciate the comical side of him a lot more. And he is the comic relief, you're right, and it's working this season more than it has in past seasons for me. Even though, like I said, I've always liked every single one of these characters. It's just we're seeing so many different sides to them now that and we're diving into them in a big
Hmm.
way. And I think that this ending, however they're going to end this thing, is going to be absolutely insane. I think it's going to be intense and emotional, and you could just see the direction of the show. Even though I don't know what the hell's going to happen, which I also like. I also like it's not predictable. We don't know what's going to happen week by week, which is also a very good thing for it. But at the same time, it is like it's making me excited for the ending. It's making me anticipate the ending because of how well it's building to it. and I'm anticipating a very hard
Mm-hmm.
hitting emotional ending, man. One of the strong points of the Bad Batch, even in the first two seasons, has been their finales. Their finales always hit, and because of how great the season's been
Mm-hmm.
through and through, makes me feel like, oh, they're gonna go for something major in this finale. Like, it's gonna be huge. Um, it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be dramatic, and it's gonna hit. And I mean, I could easily see this going the Rogue One route too, where all of these characters die. I mean, I would hate to see it, but it would tear my heart out. But on the same hand, that's good.
Mm.
That's good dramatic storytelling at the same time. If you can
It's
execute that
also
right.
it's also honestly yeah, because that's one thing that I was gonna say is that if seeing how the show's going so far, I can definitely tell that this one's gonna end, especially since this is the final season.
Yeah.
It's not gonna end with a cliffhanger. It's gonna end in a way that
Yeah.
is it's closing, and we're gonna like it. And I honestly, now that you mentioned the whole Rogue One route, I'm not mad at that. Like, obviously, it's
It's
gonna be
possible.
sad to see
Yeah.
these characters die. I mean, I basically cried when Tech sacrificed himself in
Yeah.
season two. But honestly, I can see it happening, and it's gonna be sad. I'm probably gonna cry.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just like the perfect way to just end this, end their whole
Yeah.
um adventure in life together. I mean, they are a group of rogues who just don't really make money, don't really have money. All they have
Yeah.
is each other. So to have them all just kind of end their story all together in one place would just be a perfect ending to
Mm-hmm.
this series, this show, and this life of this family that's just grown so strong together.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's one of two ways. Either they all die or they really do put being soldiers behind them and they all settle down on Pabu.
Mm,
Would love to see that as well. That would
mhm.
be very nice if that were to happen too. I mean, I think either way could work. I don't think all of them make it out alive though. I really do feel like we're going to lose somebody major, at least one. So yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see who that is, and
Crosshair's gonna sacrifice himself for
it's
Amiga.
very possible. Like, I could see so many different endings ahead. Like there could be multiple ways it goes, and all of them are very satisfying in
I mean, that is
my
kind of
opinion.
like that. That is kind of like the predictable way to go, because it's kind of the same way with like how Tech, Amiga grew her like relationship with Tech, and then he ends up sacrificing
Yeah,
himself for them. So it's kind of the predictable way. Omega's grown this relationship with Crosshair, and it
yeah,
could be that he sacrifices himself for
for
Amiga at
her.
some point
Yeah,
in this for her in this series. So, but I mean, it could happen. Honestly,
yeah.
it kind of seems like it could go that way, and I wouldn't be mad at it honestly, because he's finally seen the error of his ways and has decided to go down the right path.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember, like back even when we were doing Star Wars Sundays on stereo when we were talking about the first season. What's so amazing about this is like I didn't want Crosshair to be redeemed back then. I was like, make him the bad guy, don't do the redemption arc, because I
True.
genuinely I didn't, and now I'm just ever so satisfied with the way they've done it. It just goes to show you like execution is everything. You know what I mean? Because I'm fine with it now,
Hmm.
seeing as how
For
they've
sure.
done it, and I think what they did that was so smart. And going back into Dr. Hemlock is they've redeemed Crosshair, but they've replaced him with an even more intimidating presence, which is Dr. Hemlock now, and
Very
that's
true.
that's what they've done very smart, and that's why it's worked for me. But again, it is execution. It is the building of the relationships and making him he's back in the batch, but it wasn't easy. This is not an easy road back for him, and there's still like developing things, as we were saying. Like he still has to jump through hoops to get back to where he was, and so that's why I think it is working, that redemption arc. It is
Right.
about that execution and that character growth and development. So, uh, yeah, man. Yeah. But let's wrap it up. This is, again, as you said, one of our longest shows, but I do appreciate everybody
Mhm.
bearing with us.